My name's Neil Gavin. I'm going to be the chair for this session, which means I've got the easiest job in the world because I'm introducing your speaker for this session, Deborah Frances-White. This is her fourth speaking gig at this particular conference. If you've read the blurb in the program and you've read Deborah's blurb, the only thing I can add to it is, as well as her very popular Radio 4 broadcast, her stand-up comedian gigs at the Edinburgh Festival and all that sort of thing, Deborah has just very recently won the Writers Guild Award for that very same Radio 4 program. So she knows what she's doing. I'm going to get out of the way as quickly as possible and invite you to enjoy Deborah's session.
Thank you very much. All right. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to here today to talk about learning styles. So, could I have one volunteer? I'm a stand-up comedian. Could I have one volunteer to come up and learn to do some stand-up comedy? Great, okay, so we've got someone lovely. What's your name? Lynn. Lynn, okay, super. Okay, Lynn, I'm not going to get you to come up right now, but I will get you to come up in a bit. So Lynn wanted to come up. What did everyone else think? How did everyone else feel when I asked, could we have one volunteer? What was that? White fear. What did you do? You intimidated. Great. Now, there'll be some people in the room who felt something like a mild sort of butterflies, like a sort of a sense of anxiety, but quite mild. There'll be some people that will have felt terror. There are always some people that start checking the exits, and I see it. Most people's strategy is to look down on the floor. Just don't make direct eye contact with her. And that is a very, very good strategy, actually. And in fact, if you are in a stand-up comedy club and you don't want to play with the comedian, a really good thing to do is not make eye contact. If you make eye contact, and you're now trying to look away from me, but now you're almost like a rabbit at the headlights, aren't you? It's like, I'm trying to look away, I can't. But if you don't want to play, because that's how I always work out who wants to play, is who's looking at me and who will give me that kind of eye contact. Most people, if I ask for a volunteer, will look down, or something that happens a lot. This is a group where people don't know each other, right? Mm-hmm. So you've all come here separately. Do you know what happens if I ask that question and it's a company and everyone knows each other?
They volunteer each other?
Yes! I had one the other day it was a big gig in Amsterdam, and there were 1,500 people, and I'd been bantering with someone in the front row, and his name was Tom. And when I said, can I have a volunteer? Someone shouted out, Tom will do it, and then someone else shouted, Tom, until people were going, Tom, 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 throw him to the wolves, Tom, Tom. And I honestly felt like if I could have had a fire on stage going, who are we going to put in the fire? And they would have gone, well, this is a bit of an odd one at an away day, but Tom, 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 because anybody but me. And that's what that is. It's, if we all collectively decide to put Tom forward, we will escape. And then when I said, okay, so let's say we're going to do something with Tom, who's the next one? Then people started shouting out random names, and they would point at people. And it's a really good strategy to point at somebody else and say they will have a go at learning a new thing. And I didn't say, for them, I didn't say it was stand-up comedy. Here I said that, but there I just said, do you want to, to do something? And there was just this overriding sense. Even though they were a really fun group, they were young, they looked up for it. There was one woman called Leslie from America, and she went, I'll do it. And I said, what's your name? She said, Leslie, and I've had a lot of caffeine. And so in 1,500 people, you will often get one Leslie, and you will get 1,499 people going, Tom, 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 or looking down at the floor. That is completely normal. Because volunteering to learn things, it makes us feel anxious. And all of the learners that you're responsible for feel this way. They feel the same way that you feel.
They're conscripted, though.
They're conscripted, yes. So what you can do is you can force them to turn up, or you can force them to have a go. But the anxiety is just as real for them. So what you're saying is literally, unless you conscript learners, unless you absolutely make it a condition of the job, you'll get generally one person who'll go, yeah, I'll have a go at that. So what was your feeling when you volunteered?
That I thought, well, if nobody else does, then I will.
If nobody else does, then I will. That's a very, very, very common response. Basically, what happens is seconds go by, and which feel like minutes, until somebody feels sorry for me and goes, we can't just let her, come on, guys. She's asked for a volunteer. This is really mean. She's just standing there. This is sad. Okay, I'll do it. And that's if nobody else does it. That's really, really common. What's your name? Lynn. Lynn, you said. Lynn. So Lynn did the noble thing that none of you would do. She fell on her sword and went, I can't watch this. Basically, she saw me as a rescue cat who she felt sorry for, and she was like, look, I've got a place, okay. And sometimes there will be somebody who genuinely thinks, oh, I think I could be quite good at this. And those are the kind of learners that you have. Most people go, I want to avoid this. Somebody will go, well, if it's a literal situation with a classroom, if there's a cost to the person asking, if it's not a thing where you sit there on your own, then maybe. And then there'll be one or two people there will be outliers, the people that are just happy to step forward. There is one sort of it doesn't really matter who I get in here, because sometimes I teach at RADA, the Royal Academy for Dramatic Art, and you'd think they've signed up for 3 years of acting. They pay a lot to go as well. You'd think if you asked them if they wanted to have a go at acting, they'd really want to, because they've come a long way, and it's a big deal to get in. But in fact, they do not. If I ask, generally there's probably 10 to 30 students in any class, and if you say to 30 actors who would like to stand up and have a go at acting, they'll all look at the floor exactly the same. And do you know why that is?
Peer pressure. It's failure and fear of failure in front of people.
It's every opportunity to have a go at acting is really an opportunity to demonstrate that they are in fact talentless, and they have been let in by mistake. And today it will come out. Today is the day when we're going to go, oh, not this Sarah Brown, it was a different Sarah Brown. That letter went to the wrong person. And so their anxiety is higher than actually if I said, look, I've got a scene here from a play. Would you get up and read a bit of Chekhov or a bit of Shakespeare? And you go, I'll have a go, but I'm not really very good at this kind of thing, so the expectations are quite low. And you would probably get up doing that, sort of managing expectations, going, this will be terrible. And if you've signed up for RADA and you've been chosen out of the thousands of hopefuls, you can't get up going, probably going to be crap. So there's a great weight. And it doesn't matter if I get people from C-suite or if I get very young people. It really doesn't matter. You get that same response from everybody. There is only one sort of human being that I can get in this room that if I say, can I have a volunteer? Well, I get almost everyone volunteering, if not everyone. Do you know who those people are? Children, yes. And so if I ask you, if you pretend you're 7 now, so pretend this is a room full of 7-year-olds, and I say, can I have a volunteer to come up and do some stand-up comedy? Just show me what will happen. I won't pick you, just show me. Yeah. That is what this room will look like. It is absolutely fascinating. I don't do stuff with kids much, but I sometimes do comedy club for kids. And if you ask that, who'd like to come out and tell a joke, it's amazing. They just go, and the child that you pick will come out and they will look like they have won the lottery. They'll come out in front of the audience and go, this is it, it's finally happened, it's my turn. And they genuinely look elated. And the other children will go like this. They're like they've lost out on one of life's great opportunities and it may never come again. This is typical of life. Why is it them that got chosen to do the stand-up comedy at random, at no notice? And grown-ups, we don't feel like that. The whole idea, a comedian will say, would you like to come out and tell a joke? Can you imagine in a comedy club, if you said to grown-ups, who'd like to come out and tell a joke? Now, you've just seen 3 professional comedians. You must have a joke. Come on, come out and tell a joke. Oh my God, grown-ups would just go, but you say that to children and they cannot wait. They push each other out of the way to do that. And that's because children would come into a session like this with a very different metric for success. Their metric, I notice, is quantity. Lots of goes. How many goes can I get? And that is what they are interested in. It's really interesting that sometimes, if you ever work with kids at the end, they'll actually say, well, I had 4 goes, and Jimmy only had 3 goes. They look at you like, so I think we know who the winner is. Genuinely, that's their metric. How many goes? As grown-ups, we're very different. We want to hold off, watch somebody else do it, assess from our seats whether we would be good at it. If we think we would have a high chance of success, then and only then do we want a go. If we think we would not be successful, we would rather have no go at all. That's who we are. We want one perfect go or no go. And the dream, and I see this at RADA, the dream is that the student will come out and have a go, and that the teacher will say, wow, what a go. What a wonderful go. I wish everyone else could have had a go as good at that. And all the other students will go, I wish my go could have been that good. That's our dream. In other words, people signing up for RADA, for 3 years of acting training, are hoping they're already as good as they're ever going to be. They're hoping that before they walk through the door on day 1, they're already the best actor they can be. They're hoping to learn nothing. They're hoping that all their goes will be wonderful goes, and that every opportunity to act will simply be an opportunity to be validated. That is who we are as grown-ups. We want validation. We want to already be good. We want to be good before we've begun. And we don't actually want to get better. This is the main problem with every single person who you are engaging with in a learning way. Every single grown-up doesn't really want to get better. They already want to be as good as they will ever be. And sometimes I meet people at, you know those people you meet at one of your mate's birthday drinks, so you only see them once a year? The annual, oh, hello, yes, I saw you here last year. I often have a thing as a comedian that someone will sidle up to me at my friend's birthday drinks and go, I've been thinking I'd like to do comedy. I'd like to do a bit of stand-up comedy. I'd love to do a bit of stand-up comedy. I don't know. I mean, I've got some material about this, but I don't know. I'm a bit, a bit anxious about it. How will I do that? And then a year later, I will see them, and I will have exactly the same conversation with them. I was thinking about doing some stand-up comedy. I thought I do stand-up comedy. I thought I might do 5 minutes, but I don't know. What's there? And I give them exactly the same advice. And a year later, I will see them, and they are still thinking about doing stand-up comedy. And I have started to say to people, here's the thing. I can meet you back here in a year, and you can still be somebody who is thinking about doing stand-up comedy. Still be somebody who dreams about that. Still be somebody who thinks, I think I would be good at that. Or I can meet you back here, and you can be somebody with a year's gigs under your belt. The reality is, you're not doing stand-up comedy because you're not as good as you'll be in a year. That's that is what is blocking them. And I say, just don't not do your first gig because it won't be as good as your 6th. And don't not do your 6th gig because it won't be as good as your 100th. Don't not do stand-up comedy now because you won't be as good in a year. And don't not do it in a year because you won't be as good as you will be in 10 years. Hopefully, I'll be a better comedian next year than I was last year. But it didn't stop me doing gigs last year. I mean, if I'm as good now as I'm ever going to be, I think I'd probably give up. If I knew, well, I've peaked, this is it, it's going to plateau from now on, why are we still doing it? It's a really odd strategy that we have as grown-ups. I remember hearing Eddie Izzard interviewed by a journalist who said to him, why do you bother acting when you're a world-class comedian and you're only a mediocre actor? Which is quite a provocative question, isn't it? Do you know what he said? He said, because at one point I was a mediocre comedian. You don't get world class by staying home. You don't get world class by having no-goes, by sitting there thinking, I only really want to have goes at things I'm good at. And that is the problem with grown-ups. We've already decided what we're good at, what we're bad at, and we only want goes at things we're good at. So you'll find in your corporation, there'll be people, if there's a sort of some kind of office tennis tournament, there'll be people who go, I'm quite good at tennis. I could probably reveal that I'm quite good. Yeah, I still play tennis at school. Yeah, I'm probably quite good at tennis. And they will volunteer for that, right? And then there'll be karaoke, and the people that, I'm quite a good singer, I'll do that. But the tennis person will not do the karaoke and vice versa, right? We want goes at things we're good at. Now, I think the reason for this is that it's really our formal education. In some ways, I hope your education was free, because wherever you got it, it has screwed you over. Paying more doesn't screw you over less. When you're a kid, if you're sitting there and you're thinking about what you're going to write, say the teacher said, write an essay on what you did on the holidays, and you're just sitting there just thinking, I might start with, we went to the beach, that was really good, and I might start writing about that. And you're just sitting looking out the window thinking about your holiday, and everyone else is writing. What will happen is the teacher will shout at you and say, you're not even trying. Because the teacher would know if you were trying, because trying looks like something. If you're hunched over the page, worried, and you look a little ill, not up to the job, you will not get in trouble for that, because you're trying. The teacher will probably come around and do it for you. If you're just relaxed and happy looking out the window, the teacher will say you're not trying. Teachers can see if you're trying. Trying looks like anxiety. We encourage our children to look anxious. We actually do not like relaxed children. We find them creepy. It's like, what? Why are you so relaxed? Why are you so happy? Well, what's going on? We're not best pleased by happy children, relaxed children, especially if they're in a learning environment. It's okay for them to relax if it's relaxing time. Hold on. Do you want something more casual, more sort of like? Thank you. Because I really do not approve of these candid shots when you're talking, because it's just then people start tweeting shots of you going, no. I'm very happy to pretend to be candid. I'm not actually happy to be really candid. Delete those last ones. So if a child is in a relaxing situation, so if they're after school and they're watching TV or playing Minecraft or something, we're fine for them to look chilled out. But when they're learning, we really do prefer that they look a bit tense. We do. Either they're confident in doing it, or they're not up to the task and they're demonstrating that with their bodies. They're physically demonstrating that. I remember doing that when I couldn't do the high jump. I mean, I just couldn't even think about it. No one had ever explained to me what the thing was that other people were doing when they would just run at a bar and just seem to leap over it. That looked terrifying to me because the bar looked really sharp and hard. So what I used to do is run up to the bar and then stop, like at the last second I'd lost my nerve. Now, I'd planned well in advance that this was never going to happen. But if I just strolled up and gone, not doing it, that would have caused trouble. If I'd said, actually, I'm opting out, I'm okay with not jumping over this bar, that would have been a big deal. So, and I knew that. So I knew what I needed to do was look like I was trying. And that's what I always did. And we teach our children to do that. We teach them, we instill it in them. They get into trouble if they don't look tense. So we push anxiety into ourselves in educational settings. And we've all come here today into a learning setting with the weight of our education on our shoulders. Likewise, after we do things, often I'll ask a grown-up to do something, and then at the end, I used to teach a lot of improvisation, like whose line is it anyway, but nicer than that. But the same idea, we were doing comedy without a script. And I really noticed that at the end of anything almost, grown-ups will go, sorry. Like they actually say sorry out loud, or they make a little, I know that wasn't very good face. They apologise before they've had any feedback. They already anticipate that you're going to say it's not very good, and they want to get in first. It's a really interesting one. And I think, again, it's our childhood. If you're a kid and you're washing up and you break a plate, and you go, well, never mind. I mean, everyone breaks things from time to time. It's not the end of the world. And you just clean it up in a relaxed and happy fashion. Your mother will shout at you, because that in our society is a bad attitude. A good attitude is to cry and feel worthless. Then your mother will clean it up for you and say, don't worry, darling, it was only an accident. That's what we make our children do. We instill in them, punish yourself so you will not be punished. And that's why we're watching for signs. We do not like children who go, well, these things happen. Didn't mean to do it. Getting on with my day. Well, plates are expensive. Yep, it's broken now though. I mean, I didn't smash it deliberately. That would have been a poor choice, I see that. But if it slipped out of my hands, to punish myself for a good 20 minutes and feel emotion around it just seems odd. It was an accident. But you should look more unhappy than that. I mean, that's the relationship we have. So in terms of what we bring into any educational setting and what all of your learners are bringing into any educational setting, that's what they're bringing in. Masses of anxiety before. I want to hold off and see someone else do it, only have a go at it if I'm already pretty sure I'm going to be good. If I have one perfect go, don't have a second go. Why don't you want a second go if your go's been really good? Could have been beginner's luck. Have you ever done clay pigeon shooting or something and hit it first time? Definitely put that gun down. Definitely. Otherwise you'll demonstrate. You'll demonstrate that was beginner's luck. You'll demonstrate you have no real skill, that was an accident. Grown-ups always do that. Yep, done it. Okay, shifting away. Given myself a medal, and we don't go back. We punish ourselves after we've done things before we've even had any feedback. So you're dealing with quite a lot of anxiety before you've begun. That's before you're even out of the traps. And the best state for people to learn in is a state that's anxiety-free. So if anxiety was good for learning, this would be great. This would be good news. If anxiety was good for creativity or learning, we wouldn't bother mentioning it. But it really isn't. If I asked you to walk across a plank on the floor, most of you would be able to do it and you would not fall off. But if you extend that plank between two buildings, most people wouldn't even have a go at it, and if they did, they'd be in real danger of falling off, because anxiety is very bad for learning new things. It's very bad for creativity. Creativity is kind of learning. It's kind of coming up with something new. And it's a very similar situation, inventing something and learning something. And we all know, we get, just from experience, you get your best ideas when you're in the shower, falling asleep, riding a bike. You very rarely come up with your best ideas, or I know what it is, that's a good solution. You very rarely come up with that when someone wheels out a whiteboard and says, right, come on, we need some ideas, everyone, ideas. Lock the doors, right, good ideas. Now we're not leaving this room until we've got 10 good ideas. Come on now, no ideas are bad ideas, they say, as if all ideas are bad ideas. And what happens to your brain? It just goes into total freeze. It paralyzes. Because then you start thinking, what does a good idea look like? What's an idea that won't embarrass me? What's an idea that will impress others? And it's not that great idea that you get because you're falling asleep and you go and your brain just offers it to you on a plate, or you're walking through the park or whatever. It's not that. You either come up with terribly safe, mediocre things, or that won't get you into any trouble, or you come up with things that are so complicated and interesting, no one would really want them. Like things that are in the innovations catalogue. They're too complicated. A sort of bedside table that's also in the shape of a garden gnome, and lights up when you clap or whatever. It's too much. And those are the ideas that we come up with when we're in an anxious state. Anxiety is not good for learning. So I want to play a game now. And this is about a movie I saw. I recently was in America on business, and I was in a hotel room. And they had, those movies that you pay for? And it was one that I had never heard of before, but it was a rom-com. And I was looking for something, I was jet-lagged, and I was looking for something to kind of entertain me while my laptop charged up. So I watched this rom-com. And this rom-com was about a man, and he had a job, and that job started with the letter A. Does anyone want to guess what his job was? Started with the letter A. Accountant, you are correct. He was an accountant, well done. And he was an accountant, but he wasn't a rich accountant. In those American movies, they're often powering through the streets in those suits like in Sex and the City. But he was a really downtown kind of rubbish accountant with a bad suit, and he'd been through a terrible divorce and he had no money, and he was kind of schlubby. And he fell in love with a girl. Where did the girl live?
New York.
Sorry?
New York.
New York, yes, it was said in New York, but he was downtown. Where was she from? Uptown, that is correct. She was from Uptown. And her job started with the letter H. What was her job? Any guesses? Hairdresser? Sorry?
Horticulturist.
Horticulturist? Yes, it was. She worked at she ran a hotel. So she ran a big upmarket. She was a hotelier. She ran a big upmarket hotel, and she was sort of all shiny and fabulous. Any guesses as how they met? He's a lowly accountant. She's an uptown hotelier. She runs a big 5-star hotel. Any guesses? Grocery store? Nope. Hailing a cab? No. It was something to do with their jobs. He was meeting her client there, did you say? He was meeting his client there. Close. He was auditing her, yes. He had to do some accountancy for the hotel. Did they like each other at first? No. What did she think of him? Sorry? Boring. Not quite. Yeah, asked too many questions, and so what did what they had an argument, what did she do? What did she say to him? Very dismissive. And then there was a confrontation in that scene in which, how did it end? She did what? Yeah. She told him to get out, basically. Yes. And then they met again. This time, where did they meet? It's around this area. People keep saying Subway. Is it sponsoring this event? It was more his end of town. Sorry? A bar. It was a bar. Thank you. They met in a bar, and why was she downtown? Theatre, friends. Yes, she had come from downtown. Yes, so she was visiting her mum. So she's now this uptown girl, but what he didn't know is that she's really downtown. So she's visiting her mum, and she's ended up in this bar, which used to be her local. And now she's sort of more. It's clear she's actually more of a downtown girl. The way she's talking to the guys and like talking about the basketball match and stuff. And he sees her, and he's like, "You're not so uptown after all." What then happens in that bar? Between the two of them? They get drunk. Yes, very good. They get drunk together. And after they get drunk, what happens? Sex. They sleep together. And the next morning, where do they wake up? Next to each other, but where? Yes, in the hotel. In the hotel. In what room of the hotel? The penthouse, yes. She's taken over the penthouse, and they've had this wild night of decadence. And now she wakes up, and who knocks on the door? She runs the hotel. Who knocks on the door? Housekeeping. And housekeeping comes in, and there is the hotelier with the accountant that she's just chucked out of the building yesterday. So now this is really embarrassing for her. Okay, any guesses how this ends? If we cut to the ending, how does it end? Happily, yes. Any kind of usually there's some kind of run to the airport, some kind of. Sorry. Some kind of jeopardy. So in this case, we've got downtown accountant, uptown hotelier. Where do they meet? Where's the last scene take place? Downtown at the bar. Yeah, because that's really who they are, absolutely. So he thinks it's all lost. He's sitting there drinking at the bar, and she walks in. So this is a lovely movie. This is pitchable, this movie. This is saleable. This is a movie that you have entirely guessed, but actually, in fact, invented. Because I have not seen such a movie. And I'm just taking anything I like the sound of. But people are much more willing to guess than if I tried to make them invent. So if I said, right, guys, we're going to invent a movie. We're going to create a movie. We've got to come up with a couple of really good characters. We've got to come up with a setting. Where are these guys going to meet? What happens now if we try and invent one? How does the feeling change for you? If I go, what's your name? Yettel. Yeti. Good name. Where are you from, Yeti? Netherlands. Nice. That's where I was with my big 1,500 people. Yeah. It was really fun. You weren't there, were you?
But I really nice Amsterdam.
You could have, you could have been. There were 1,500 people there. It's not, yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. So Yeti, if I said now, this is your job to come up with a movie, so you're going to pitch a movie to us. So could you just tell us a movie? So this is a romantic comedy. What we need is a man and a woman. They've got to have jobs and they've got to meet somewhere. Just pitch the opening of this movie. Just like what we did then. Anything at all is good. Doesn't have to be good.
I get the feeling, what you explained earlier, that I'm anxious.
Yeah.
To answer.
Yeah.
All those people staring at me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Do you have anything at all? Is anything occurring to you?
No, not at the moment.
Nothing is occurring to you. Okay. So when we were playing the guessing game, was something occurring to you most of the time, even if you weren't shouting out?
Yeah.
Were you guessing something? Yes. Okay. So let's take Linda. You were our volunteer. Lynn, you were our volunteer before. Okay. So if we asked you to pitch the beginning of a movie, and you're more of a volunteering sort, do you reckon you could pitch the beginning of a movie?
Possibly.
Okay. So possibly. Let's turn that into let's see. Okay, so Linda, you're going to come up. Lynn, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm looking at your tag, which actually, the name Lynn is longer than usual, so I blame that tag and the spelling of your name. Okay, so Lynn, big round of applause for Lynn. Okay, Lynn. All right, so Lynn, this is the beginning of a romantic comedy. Just pitch it to us in a confident fashion, like we're Hollywood executives and you've got it.
Okay, so I'm setting the scene where there's a guy who is an international businessman. He travels around the world a lot. He comes into a hotel. He realizes that he has to do some sort of, he needs to get flowers or something for someone. And let's say, I don't know, it's the wife of a business partner or something. And then...
Sorry. When you say, I don't know, let's say, so we're Hollywood executives, and you're pitching a story, but you're not sure. Let's say he's the wife of a businessman, okay?
I've got a number of ideas.
Great,
So
good.
that's one of the ideas
Good.
that I've got.
Okay, so Lynn, I want you to start again.
Yeah.
And this time, I want you to pretend you already know the story before
Okay.
you've started. Okay, so you've been working out this story for ages. You got it. You've got the screenplay. You're just excited to pitch us the idea, okay? All right, so we're excited. We've got, how much have we got to spend on this, guys? We're from Paramount. We've got all the development about 20 million. We've got 20 million. We're looking for a movie just like this. We're looking for a rom-com. Look, to be honest with you, I've already read the script. I think it's amazing. And I've already told them, I think this is the one we want to buy. I read a lot of scripts. That's all I do. All I do all day, I read hundreds of scripts. And I rarely find anything that's really good. And I'm really excited about this. I've already had a chat to a couple of people. I think it could be really good for Colin Firth. I know he's a little older now, but he really, you know what, rom-coms have worked for him in the past. He's not in this Bridget Jones because I think his character died. Spoilers. So he's looking for something. He's looking for something new. And Jennifer Aniston is also looking for a hit because her last few have not been so good. Now, I've chatted to them. They're happy to attach, but all you need to do is convince these guys. This is our committee at Paramount Studios. They're already friendly. They're on board. Basically, if you pitch this with confidence, this movie you've written is your baby. You know it inside and out. You love this movie. It's all you want to do. If you pitch it to us with confidence, you've got the sale. Okay? So, do you want a microphone, or can you hear her? Yeah, I think, thank you though. I'm going to introduce you again and see if this changes things, okay? So ladies and gentlemen of Paramount Studios, thank you so much. I wanted to get all of our development execs in the same room, and I know there's a lot of you and you've got very busy schedules, but I think this really could be our new hit film for 2017. But I wanted you to hear it, not from me, because, you know, it's not my baby. I wanted you to hear it from Lynn. Now, she's been writing this for a couple of years. She's honed this script to perfection. It's absolutely an incredible story. And I just want you to, all you need to hear is the opening pitch. I really love it. I've got some talent loosely attached, and I think this could be something for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, Lynn.
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, James, a very successful British businessman, travels the world, pitches up at a hotel, realizes that he's forgotten the birthday of his business partner's wife, needs flowers, and therefore rings down to reception, gets the name of a local florist. And who is it? It is in the shape of, let's say, Jennifer Aniston, because that's who I'm thinking about having in this role. So he's in New York, and he phones her, and guess what? She gets the order wrong. Oh. So this is a big disaster, huge emotion from him, because this was really important to him, and she then tries to do everything she can. So the whole film then pans out that the whole relationship between them, they keep on misunderstanding each other. There's lots of this, and we've got the whole sort of cultural element going on as well. British businessman, an American horticulturalist, flower girl kind of thing, and eventually, it all ends up really, because as Deborah's just said, it's a rom-com. I can give you more details if you want, but that is it.
Okay, so thank you. Let's stay up. So Lynn said she can give us more details. Now, I think we'd like some. So any questions? Any questions from the audience? From anybody here about what the relationship is between these two people? Yes?
Could you tell us one of the cultural misunderstandings?
Oh, one of the cultural misunderstandings between the British businessman and the American florist.
Well, we're talking about flowers, so therefore Americans have different names for flowers and things like that. So she thinks he's talking about something else, and he describes a sort of bouquet that he wants, and she gets it completely wrong.
Yes, that was a very funny scene, I thought, where where Mantrap in sort of like what she thought of as a Venus Mantrap, and of course what he was saying was mantra, which is a beautiful variety of English rose.
Exactly.
I was just nice to flesh out. Yeah. So the Venus Mantra, which is a beautiful English rose, of course. She hears Mantrap, so of course this terrible thing that looks like Little Shop of Horrors turns up, and it actually, the trouble is they do call the business partner's wife the Mantrap because she's very young, and people saw her as a gold digger, and she just thinks this is a terrible slight. So that was so funny. It was so funny. It's my favourite scene. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you tell us more about the wacky, confidant best friends that keep giving this guy little advice?
Oh, what a great question. Yeah, so I'm so sorry. I've already sort of slightly leaked some of this. So there's a couple of best friends who give them advice, sort of really offbeat. So
Jennifer Aniston character.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston's offbeat friend. Who's Jennifer Aniston's offbeat friend?
Oh, that's played by. She's an older woman.
We were thinking Susan Sarandon or something, like really much older, but's got that sort of wacky, sort of,
very forthright, very outspoken, and says how she. So of course she sees this British businessman, and she doesn't care about what he's doing, and sort of really kind of puts him down.
Well, at one point she actually physically pushes him, doesn't she?
Yes.
What's that scene? What does she push him into?
She ends up, in fact, pushing him into a fountain.
Oh,
because she thinks
so
he's being, ever so British. She wants to cut through all that sort of crap, and things like that. Excuse my French. And so therefore, she decides she's going to bring him down a peg or two, so ends up pushing him into a fountain.
She pushes him into a fountain. It's a very, very funny scene. And then when he gets out of the fountain, of course, if that's Colin Firth, that will, of course, evoke our earlier love of Colin Firth. We first met him as Mr. Darcy with the wet shirt. So I was thinking, that could be a lovely piece of sentimental casting. And his best friend, Colin Firth's wacky best friend, who's that?
Well, I was thinking in the sense of Ralph Fiennes bringing out that sort of older man, because obviously then there's that element of him kind of getting together with maybe
Susan Sarandon. Yes, that's what we were thinking. But Ralph Fiennes is playing a continental European, isn't he?
Yeah,
Where's he from?
So he's from actually old Romania, so he's sort of reprising his kind of,
And he has a catchphrase, doesn't he? What's his catchphrase? It's an old Romanian saying. It's so funny. What's his old Romanian saying that he always says?
Oh, I'd like you to say that.
Well, I'll say it in Romanian and then you translate it.
Of course.
So he always says, Spliga acum, Flugulana. And that means?
It makes no sense in English because when you literally translate it says, when the meatballs are cold, they are cold.
Thank you. Well done, Lynn. Thank you. Okay, so the state we're in is almost all of it. Because when we're in the state of we're guessing, and we're going, we're guessing some crap movie I watched in a hotel room, we've just all got ideas because I don't have a guess. But actually, what we're really doing is inventing things. Some of you may have worked out, did anybody have a sense of, I wonder if this is a real movie or I wonder if we're guessing? Did anyone have a wonder if we were inventing? So yeah, about 10 people wondered if we were inventing and not guessing. Does anyone know for sure we weren't guessing? Did anyone go, I'm absolutely 100% positive?
I'm an aficionado of rom-coms.
So you thought I would have seen this. You basically went, BS, I'd have known this. This sounds brilliant. I would have watched it. I'd have it in my DVD collection. You really, yeah, that's really interesting. You don't strike me really as much of a rom-com man, but
It's written on this pad, I must rent this.
excellent. Download it. We'll make it, and then we will be able to. So there's one or two people who were absolutely sure that we were inventing and not guessing. There were about 10 people who suspected, but most people in the room thought they were inventing. And that's a really, really interesting thing, that how willing we are to go, look, I'll have a guess at a job starting with H. I'll have a guess at, where they meet? I don't know, where they meet? Subway? Coffee shop? Dry cleaners? Nobody's sitting there going, it's boring, coffee shop, can't say that. I've seen that before, dry cleaners. I've seen that with spilt something on each other in the dry cleaner. Oh, no, can't say that. What's a really good and interesting place that no one's ever met in a rom-com before? It's got to be really good. There's no point saying it unless it's really original. That's what human beings do, or grown-ups do, certainly, when they think they're inventing. They're editing out all of the best stuff. The best stuff is the obvious stuff. So one of the first questions I ask is, he's from downtown. He's a schlubby accountant from downtown. And I only said that because someone said a accountant. I thought, it's more interesting to have the accountant from downtown because we think of maybe accountants as New York accountants in rom-coms maybe are rich, right? So then I thought H, and I just said H, and as I said H, I thought there's hardly any jobs starting with H. Why did you say that? Because I thought if I say yes the first time, they're going to work out, they're guessing. So I slightly panicked and thought I have to say no to the first two things, which was horticulturist and, no, what was the first one? Hairdresser. I went, it's too obvious, they're going to work it out. And then horticulturist, I thought, it's too random. They're going to go, really? She just guessed that? Sounds interesting. So I thought, whatever number 3 is, it's going to have to be yes. And when it was hotelier, I thought, it's not much more plausible, but if I go really fast... Because you'd say hotel manager, I don't know. I just thought, just pretend you're excited that happened and just move on. So in my I had a measure of anxiety in trying not to reveal my own game, knowing some people would probably work it out. But so I started playing. Sometimes I just decided randomly, whatever they say next, I'm going to say yes. But sometimes if it was where do they meet, cafe, I thought I'm just going to let 5 go by, because I just want lots of people to have a go at guessing. And then we get one. The bar was really inspired, the downtown bar. Why is she from the downtown bar? And I knew immediately, I thought, I bet I know why she's from the downtown bar. But I actually didn't know if you would know why she was at the downtown bar. What you guess when you guess is the most obvious thing. So it's usually the best thing. It's what the audience are hoping for. When I say there's a girl from uptown and a boy from downtown, what's the next scene? Everyone knows. They meet. Everyone knows. Or actually, no, what I asked the question was, if he's from downtown, where is she from? And everyone says uptown, because we know, because we've watched rom-coms before, and that works. Now, that's not to say no one subverts that genre or flicks it around. They do, but that's a common trope, and it doesn't make your show or your film less pitchable. But when we learn, we often strive desperately for originality. When we create, we strive desperately for originality. So this group is great at creating and inventing, and in fact learning how to put a rom-com together if they don't think they're doing that. As soon as we turn and say, okay, now we're inventing, even though we've just done it, even though we know the mechanism, there's still, if I say to Yeti, okay, pitch, she'll go, well, actually, nothing's coming to me now. There's an anxiety washing over me, because if it's now my responsibility. But of course, we can play this game with Yeti. We absolutely can play this game with Yeti. Now, I sense Lynn would be fun to have a first go with, because she was an early volunteerer. And even though she only volunteered really because no one else had, she still did. So I thought, yeah, I bet. But a lot of her language in the first time she tried was quite, it was managing our expectations. And therefore, it was less specific. So she was saying things like, let's say the flowers are for somebody like, and that's to say, look, I'm only inventing this now, guys. So if you don't think it's very good, that's fine. I haven't really planned it. So I'm just sort of saying something around this. It could be something like this. And because it's less specific, it's less interesting. I mean, there's a vague businessman, and he's vaguely giving some vague flowers to somebody else. It could be the wife of somebody, it might not be. And that's not a very interesting pitch. But she's doing it quite sensibly, because her body is telling her, manage expectations. So then when we say, okay, because people, this is the one big thing that you should know about your learners. People rarely exceed expectations. They don't in life. They do not exceed expectations. This is why there really is no prejudice like that of lowered expectations. If you marginalize a community and you go, look, you guys probably won't do well at school, you guys probably aren't going to go to university, it's an extreme bias, because very few people go, I'll show you, I'm twice as good as you think I am. Very few people, if told by a doctor you'll never walk again, will walk again. And some people will. I was talking to James Cracknell, the rower, yesterday, and he had an accident, and he said he was told he'd never do this and never do that. And he said, my mother-in-law she left school early, and she just said, they're doctors. They know, you mustn't try, you mustn't push. But he said, but my whole life I'd thought, well, I've always done things people told me I couldn't do. That's been my whole career, is I can do this. So I just thought, well, I definitely can. And because he's the kind of guy who defies expectations. But he's tall and good-looking and posh. So there's a sense of him of, I don't think there's anyone better qualified here to say what I can do than me. He's very entitled, which is, I think, in this context, an incredibly positive thing, because he said just because they've got doctor on their lapel, just meant they stayed at university a few years younger than me. I don't see that they know more about what I can do, or whether I can row again, or how fast I can think. I don't agree with them. And that sense of entitlement means he could exceed expectations. Most people won't do that. He's an outlier. There are some people like that. Most of your learners will not be that. Most of your learners, if you say, by this stage, we expect you might be able to do something like this, they'll come in just under whatever you've told them they can do. So actually, telling learners they can do this is a great thing. And that's what we did here. We raised expectations with Lynn. I basically went, I'm hearing a lot of very vague language, and I wanted to see what she did first, because I don't know Lynn. She might have come out, and she very bravely started. I thought she was very brave the first time around, but she did a very human, normal thing, manage expectations, and then it doesn't matter how good it is. I haven't said it's going to be good, so it's okay if it's not. I don't lose status. So then when we pulled her off and we raised expectations in the room, I told her these people were already favourably disposed, that they knew you've already written this film, that you've already got talent attached. Really, all she has to do is come in and pitch it with confidence, and it's hers. Then she totally has to step up to that plate, and she does. And when we start taking questions from you, if we act as if we know the answer to the questions, we will. If we go, oh, I don't know, we haven't thought about that, it's quite early in the development stage, but I'm sure we will have a couple of best friends, that's all it'll give us. Our brains will not give us more than we tell them they will. If we step forward, we know the answer to that, don't we? We love this scene. This is my favourite scene. Why don't you tell them about it? She's probably going to come up with something. Her brain will offer her something. The more you can raise expectations, the better your learners will be. Now, that's not to say push them off a high diving board and into an empty swimming pool. But it is to say play games with them, or gamify your learning, so that they can be put into a state where they can do something confidently the first time. That's built into the game. That pretending to be an expert is built into the game. The more you say, how would an expert do this? How do you guess an expert would do this? How do you guess someone brilliant would do this? So do it like a first-timer. Now do it like you reckon someone who's been doing it for 10 years would do it. And often you find their skill goes right up. I was once listening to a Radio 4 show about genius, and there were all these people on who were considered to be geniuses, and they all had one thing in common only, because they were all genius in different areas, and this was the one thing they had in common. At some point in their childhood, they had been told they were a genius. That was it. And there was one lady, and she said, she was a maths genius, and she said, when I was a kid, my father was the secretary for education. And there was some argy-bargy about the 11 plus and the 13 plus changing. And there was seen to be a question on the 11th plus maths test, or it was on the 13 plus maths test that was seen to be too difficult. So a journalist rang her house, she answered the phone and said, can I speak to your father? He's not in. And so the journalist just randomly said to her, can you do this maths problem? And she did the maths problem and she got it right. And then she said, how old are you? And she said, 11. And so this 11-year-old had done the 13-year-old really hard one and got it right. And it was in the paper the next day that she was a maths genius, that the daughter of the secretary was a maths genius. And she said, I read that in the paper and I was like, oh, I'm a maths genius. And she said, my parents had always encouraged me and told me I was bright and I was good at maths. She said, but when I saw it in the paper, I thought things that were in the paper were true. And I had no idea. And she said, I just thought, oh, well, that's official now. And she said, after that, if there was any point at which I did not understand a maths problem at school, I thought, well, there's something wrong here because I'm a genius. So if I don't get it, it's not been explained well. And she said, I just thought it was an anomaly that must be immediately fixed because I had to get my life view back, which was I was a maths genius, and a maths genius can do maths. So I would put my hand up immediately and go, I don't get this. Can you explain this to me? And I would not stop until that was explained to my satisfaction and I could replicate it because I couldn't live without my worldview that I was a maths genius. And she said, and then I became a maths genius. She said, and now I'm one of the leading mathematicians in the country. She said, but looking back, I was just a bright child who believed myself to be a maths genius. And that was basically the story of every single genius. Now, I would like to know what would happen is if in something like creative writing, you had a class of children, and at one point or other, from the time they were between 6 and 10, you had a teacher take them aside individually and say, I think you've got a real voice for creative writing. I think you could be a published author. That story you wrote about the fish, tell me more about that. And I reckon if you told every child in one random class that they could win the Booker Prize, that you would find an inordinate amount of that class would become professional writers, because everyone's got a voice. And if you tell them you could be a published author and they feel special, they will then develop that side of themselves. What we're often doing is basically saying to our learners, you're probably not going to be very good at this, are you? But we've made it easy for people like you who aren't very good. Stage 1, it's quite a low stage, so you should be all right with that. Have a little go. That was a good little go, wasn't it? And of course, we keep them there in that state, in that low-level, anxiety-driven state. It's a state that's really free of confidence. But when we endow someone with confidence, often they can do things. So writing a screenplay, coming up with an idea for a screenplay, is something we can all do because we've all watched hundreds of rom-coms or movies of that ilk. If you haven't watched hundreds of rom-coms, you've watched hundreds of movies. So we all understand how story works intuitively. All of us. We're brilliant at it. You never watch a movie and don't guess what's going to come next. You're always in a guessing state when you're watching. You never ever have watched a Hugh Grant film and gone, got no idea what could happen. Paused it. If someone paused it, what do you reckon is going to happen? I don't know, there's him and there's her. It's really awkward. I don't know. What could happen? No one's ever said, you've got to go and see the new Hugh Grant film. I don't want to tell you what happens in the end. No, spoilers. In fact, you can usually guess what's going to happen or some sort of thing like what's going to happen every movie you watch. In fact, if you can't guess the ending, people will say to you, go and see The Sixth Sense quickly. Don't hear anything about it. You'll never guess the ending. That happens like once a year, that people will be talking about a film. And what they will be saying most keenly is, you won't guess the ending. It's a big deal if you won't guess the ending. You'll always guess the ending. They get together. He shoots the bad guy. They're not surprising. How they get there, sometimes, but usually what we're doing is we're going, either this, or this is going to happen. We've got a couple of options, and then this happens, and then we go, okay, so we eliminate those, and then we go this, or this, and then we eliminate those. That's what your brain is doing. So you write a movie every time you watch a movie. In reality, you write 3 or 4 movies because you're constantly making various guesses. You're always guessing your own adventure. You just don't know you're doing it. There are all sorts of things like that your learners are already doing. They just don't know they're doing it. If you can access those things, it's absolutely incredible. So, what time is it? What time have I done? Okay. Do you want now, Yeti, to have a go at this? Doesn't have to be a good go. To be honest, if it wasn't as good as that go, it would be better. Because that go was almost too good. And now what happens when that go is too good? What happens to everyone else? My go won't be as good. So in a way, Lynn screwed us up by being so good. She was too talented at this to make a second go possible. Aren't we screwed up as grown-ups? That we watch a good go and then go, well, I'm not having a go now. A good go has happened. Possibly the best go. My go can only be disappointing. This is what your learners are experiencing. It's terrible, terrible, terrible anxiety all of the time. If the go was not good, people go, oh no, Lynn couldn't do it, I'll never do it. If the go was good, Lynn's done it too well, I'll never match up. It's tough for grown-ups. So what we're going to do is we're going to get Yeti to have a go, but not as good a go as Lynn. Could you have a bad go? Mediocre go. If you could have a go that was worse than Lynn's, it would help me out. Can you have a bad go? Brilliant. Yeti's going to have a bad go. Come on. Okay.
Because my English is not that good. So.
That's perfect for a bad go. So Yeti's got...
Maybe I can do it in Dutch, and then it's bad already.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to do it in Dutch? No? Okay. You're very welcome. Because I reckon we'd understand.
Really?
Okay. Just from if you pitched it confidently, the Dutch rom-com, it would be funny. I would find it funny. Have a go in Dutch first. But in Dutch, please remember we don't understand the words, so the presentation's got to be super confident.
Yeah, I can
Okay,
do that.
so Hollywood pitch, but your Hollywood pitch, so these guys are Hollywood execs. They are wanting to invest their money somewhere. You've got to pitch the best movie in the world like it's the best movie in the world, like you're so excited about it, okay? The only twist is that it is in Dutch, but fortunately, all of our execs here speak Dutch, so it's absolutely fine, okay? So you're going to pitch it as if it's the greatest. So all we're looking at is the confidence, because we actually won't understand the words.
Yeah.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is, I think, the movie we at Paramount Studios have been waiting for. This is our next Titanic. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Yeti.
Het is leuk dat je de Titanic noemt, omdat er ook, ik merk, I noticed that I start to use English words, but okay, it's in Dutch. Want de comedy die gaat ook over een boot, waar een man en een vrouw elkaar ontmoeten. Een man die een achtergrond heeft in niet zozeer een zakelijke wereld, maar een beetje een feministische wereld. Waar die omgeven wordt door vrouwen. En ook daar wel een beetje angstig voor is. Dus,
Okay, dial the confidence up by 5%. Confidence. Dial the razzmatazz up by 5%.
Okay.
Make it 5% more bullshit, more bold. 5% more.
Oké, dus hij...
You can keep, that's all right. You can throw in English words. People do when they speak Dutch, I notice. So you're not limited to Dutch. You can throw in English any time you want.
Okay.
But you keep going from wherever you stopped, but dial up the boldness by 5%. We're buying this based on how brilliant you think it is.
Oké. Dus hij is omgeven in een feministische omgeving waar hij heel veel vrouwen ontmoet. En het grappige is dus dat hij enigszins ook wel heel bang is voor vrouwen. Dat hij daardoor het gevoel heeft van... ik moet met mijn vrouwen identificeren, maar ik moet ook in...
Dial it up by another 5%. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
You asked me to do a bad plot. So
Oh, no. You're doing no, bad is good. Bad is good. Oh, Yeti. It's really, really good. I'm just going like this. So if you see me go like that, make it 5% more bold. So bad pitch is good, but it's 5% more. You're happy about how bad it is. Okay? Is that better?
But it's so bad that I forgot what the movie is about. So.
It's fine. We don't speak Dutch. It's fine. It's fine.
But even in Dutch, it's hard to imagine a movie like this.
It's okay. To be honest, you could just say song. Yeti, you could just say song lyrics. We wouldn't know. Okay. You could just say the alphabet. We wouldn't know. Okay.
I do think if I say the alphabet, you'll know this better.
That's okay. This movie could be an alphabet rom-com.
I imagine the movie. Oké. Het grappige is dat als die man aan de boot komt, dat hij daar een kikker ziet. En die kikker die vertelt hem een verhaal. En dat is heel grappig, want kikkers praten nooit. Dus hij denkt bij zichzelf van, hoe komt het toch dat die kikker hier een verhaal over aan het vertellen is? En op dat moment komt er een vrouw achter die boot. En dat je denkt, waar komt die vrouw vandaan? Maar die heeft dus van die vlinder.
There you go. That was really good. Thank you.
This is on video, right?
This is on video, but we will delete that. You will delete that.
No,
She doesn't want
I
to.
think I send it to Paramount. And
Thank you, Yeti. Thank you. Okay. When did that pitch pick up for us? Yeah. It was so different, wasn't it? And it was because she started physicalizing it and she started selling it with confidence. So she stopped kind of going, it's quite a bad pitch. A bad pitch pitched with confidence, makes up about 95% of Hollywood cinema. I mean, think about the standard of the movies. But they're pitched with great confidence, guys. They really, really are. The people that get their pitches through pitch with confidence. So when she started going in the boat, we sort of knew what she was talking about, wasn't it? Something about a boat and going under, and there was a frog, was there? Do you speak a bit of Dutch? Of course you do, Lynn. Of course you do. There is an old Dutch saying. When the meatballs are cold, the meatballs are cold. And if that is pitched with confidence, everybody laughs. And it's actually quite good. And I sort of know what that means. You do know what that means. In terms of a rom-com, when the meatballs are cold, the meatballs are cold. It sounds a bit rude in a way. So Yeti, talk us through your feelings around that. So you started off going, okay, I can do this if it's bad. And then I started telling you to be more confident. And then you got massive anxiety around, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to be here in front of these people. I don't want to do this. And then what happened at the end?
Well, at some point, I decided to make up a funny story and don't care about all the restrictions I had in my mind. So then it became a movie about a frog indeed and a boat, and I don't know whether I was heading to that.
Great. But what happened is you got spontaneous applause from the audience, because what they saw was that decision, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to be limited by what's happening in my brain anymore. I'm not going to be limited by my own limitations. So what Yeti's really saying is, I took my own low expectations off. So when your learners have low expectations of themselves, and then you add your low expectations, and all of the programs you create sort of have low expectations in them. Now, I'm not saying, you then just go, there's no guided learning or there's no expectations at all. But if you could look at a program and if you could say, well, what would this look like if the person believed they could do it? Do they have to go through stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Or could they go 1 to 10 if we added in raised expectations and we found a way to take their limitations off? So one strategy I often use is can you do a bad one? Can you do it badly? I find volunteers are if I often say if I'm teaching an improv class, I go, can we have 2 volunteers who aren't going to be very good at this? And I have people running up. So they go, I'll go up for the one we don't have to be good at. Anything where you put good, when you layer good on it is really, really tricky. Now, this is something, I just want to look at the time. Okay, I've only got 6 minutes left. So this is something I want to do. I need to send somebody out of the room. and who is going to come in and do a little presentation. Sorry, I'm just looking at my... Oh, there we are. There they are. Yeah, okay. So I need to send somebody out of the room who's then going to come in and just do the top of a presentation. And that literally could be, my name's Lynn and I'm here to talk to you about learning. I mean, it's a real top of the presentation. And so this is just around, how they're delivering it. So basically the place Yeti got to that she didn't start at, the place where she just started going, I'm pitching this brilliant thing and it's about frogs and rivers and boats and yeah. So we're just going to send someone outside. So anybody who wants to go outside, and this is the last thing we're going to do. So you all know, because you're all learning professionals, that experience is a better teacher than anything auditory. So if you want to kind of get a jump on everyone else, this is sort of your last opportunity to do it. So can I have somebody who doesn't care about being good, who wants to have an experience of something before the end of this? And it's not going to be a terrible one. It's easy. This is easy. Brilliant. What's your name? Stuart. Lovely. So Stuart's going to go outside. And Stuart, could you just put your hands over your ears when you're outside and go la 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 la? Sing your favourite song. When you go outside, no, not just so you can't hear me. Sorry, I just thought you thought that was the task. Sing in a hallway. It'll give you confidence, Stuart. Can you just check? Can someone go outside and guard him so he can't hear? Someone needs to go outside and guard Stuart. Thank you. Is you Stuart's friend? Good, thank you. Okay. All right. So when Stuart comes in, and he's going to walk through here and come up to here, I'm going to go out and get him. I want you to behave like you are teenagers at a One Direction concert. And I don't just mean sort of quite pleased corporate people. I mean teenagers like to scream his name. Have you got a couple of people got flashes on their phone so they could just sort of like pat him with a flash on, because that makes a difference, obviously. And I want you to sort of just be like, Stuart, we love you. Like really, really, really go for it, okay? So when he comes in, now we've got to clear a path for him so he can get to the stage. So I'm going to take these chairs away, and if you could move around. So don't actually grab him or stand in front of him, but let him get to the stage. But sort of cheer and scream and stand up and applaud and just revere him, okay? So his name's Stuart. So Stuart. Okay. So a few people got flashes ready? Lovely. Okay, so Stuart.
Yes.
All right, so so you're going to come in, and I just need to give you just a little presentation. I'm Stuart. I'm here to talk to you about learning, and I'm a learning development manager, whatever, anything like that. Okay. All right. So you just come in and just go to the front. All right, ready? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Stuart. Very much, great. How was that, Stuart?
That was one of the best moments of my life.
Do you know what I find interesting about this? I've done this I call this rock starring somebody, and what I find very interesting about it is literally every human being I've ever done this to does Jesus arms. It's really interesting. They just go like this. Everybody does it. They can't help it. They can't help it. Okay, so I want you to go it again.
Yes.
Just go it again, same thing, before we talk about this anymore. Same deal. Bye, Stuart. Same deal. Okay. So this time when Stuart comes in, you're expecting a speaker. It's fine, but you're not going to sort of, give him any particular attention. You're a bit bored by the whole thing. You've seen too many speakers. You don't know who he is, you don't care. You might be on your phone, you might chat to the person next to you. If he gets your attention, great. You're just not going to give him anything, okay? No applause or anything like that. Okay, Stuart, same thing again. You're going to go and come in and give a presentation. Great, super. Okay. Lovely. Thank you, Stuart. Okay, so I wanted to look at these two ways of changing somebody's state. Especially, is that 5 minutes ago or was that time? That's time. Especially with diverse learners. This is really about inclusion. Diverse learners often will not include themselves. So mainstream learners who feel entitled, your James Cracknells, people who feel entitled will assume inclusion. If they don't get it, they demand it. So Stuart's just walked into another room. That's what happens. So what you'll find is that people who expect and demand inclusion, that's what entitlement is. We all here feel entitled to running water, because we've always had it. If you went home tonight, there's no running water, you'd ring the council and you'd expect that running water would be put back on. If in 48 hours there was no running water, you'd start demanding it. You'd be telling people, because we're entitled to running water. Some people feel entitled to inclusion, because they've only ever experienced inclusion. They've walked into rooms and they expect to be included, and if they don't get it, they demand it. They do something to get it. Diverse people will not demand inclusion, and they won't expect inclusion. And that includes a 6'4" posh white guy called Toby, who's just entered a Colombian drug cartel. Because there, he doesn't expect inclusion. He definitely won't demand inclusion. So this is about being diverse. Now, if you are in an operation where most of your learners look the same, and most of your learners are from an homogenized group, you will find that they will demand inclusion, they will expect inclusion, and they will learn in a very different way. They'll learn faster, and they will put their hand up and go, I don't understand this, and therefore it's an anomaly. They will behave like the genius maths kid. If people do not look like the homogenized group, and they don't feel like the homogenized group, in some way or another, because of gender, because of race, because of accent, because of height, whatever it is, sexual orientation, they will not demand inclusion. It is not usual to demand inclusion. And you can see simply that we have somebody there who's come in, you look like a pretty, you look like probably most of the people here, nice looking, tall, white guy. He doesn't seem, he doesn't feel unentitled. A couple of times he's piped up and said something funny. So he looks like somebody who I think feels entitled to inclusion in a running water sort of way, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But when we give him the rock star treatment, you see his status go up, and you see him come towards the audience. And you see his body open up. And you can do that to anybody. I've done that to all sorts of people, all sorts of minority people, majority people, homogenized people, diverse people. You get people coming towards the audience. And this is because of over-acceptance. What you're saying is, in our tribe, you are revered. You are safe in this tribe, and you have a high status in this tribe. You're safe and important in our tribe. That's what rock starring does to somebody. If, when someone walks into the room, you just don't give them any particular attention, you're not rude, but you don't really give them any attention, even somebody like James? No, that's James Cracknell. Yes, Stuart. Clearly names, not my thing. I had a very sore throat, so I didn't sleep very well last night. That's why I can't remember your names. So Stuart, Yeti I can remember, because she's got an unusual name. Stuart, have a more memorable name. So what Stuart does is when we don't pay him any attention, he doesn't include himself so much. He goes over here, and he kind of knocks over here, and you see him wanting to really go behind here, which is the safe place, which is the place, this is why this is here, it's camouflage, it's a safe place to hide. And that is misdirection. This is basically, don't eat me, and look over there. This is what's going on here. So he comes over here, and he doesn't want to include himself as much, and he does a lot of low status, immediately sort of low status gestures, because the room is telling him you're not really included. So if you've got learners that are diverse, please be aware that they will not include themselves as a matter of course. Please be aware that more must be done to include diverse learners. And that's not to say that there, of course, will be outliers to that, but as a trend, you will find diverse learners. If they're a minority of women in a room full of men, if they are a minority of in any other way, they will not include themselves. You need to rock star them into the tribe. And once they feel safe and secure and important in the tribe, they will learn just as well as anybody else. But it is very important you find a way to rockstar someone. Now, you can't obviously cheer and scream every time they walk into the room, but there will be things that you can put into your learning and put into the atmosphere to make them central to the tribe. And sometimes that means telling other tribal members that they've got to include that person in a way that doesn't make it feel like school or it doesn't make them feel conscripted, but put something in, because if you've always been included, you don't understand that other people aren't. It's very, very difficult. And sometimes I think, this is how I feel about sometimes the way that in our society, the dominant group, say white posh men, they will see a hallway and they will go down, they'll sweep down the hallway, and then they'll say, why couldn't you get through? You're just complaining. If you were any good, you'd be at the end of the hallway. But what they don't realise is that there's lots of doors down that hallway. And the bouncers, as soon as they see a tall white posh man coming, open the door. Way before. So say the man's there, they see them coming and they open the door. They never see the doors because the doors are opened for them, and then they sweep through. And what they don't realise is it's a different experience if you come up and you have to talk your way past two bouncers and allow them to let you through into the next space. And so probably you'll either go, oh, no, that obviously isn't for me because I don't want to take the bouncers on, or you'll get bolshy and you'll go, come on, it's ridiculous you've let other people in, or you'll learn to charm bouncers. If you're diverse, you do one of those things. You give up, you fight, or you learn to charm. But if you've never had to fight your way past bouncers or talk your way or charm bouncers, you don't have those skills. You've just seen a hallway and you walked through a hallway. So you cannot expect privileged learners and privileged people in your company, and by privileged I just mean people for whom the doors sort of seem to magically open. They don't see doors, they see a hallway. To know that there are doors and bouncers. They can't know. How do they know? If they haven't experienced a lot of that, it is not in their experience, and therefore they don't see it happening to other people. So don't put things into that learning, make sure you put things into that learning that acknowledges that situation for both the homogenized group and the diverse members of the group. Understand that they don't know they have to rockstar the diverse people. They've been rockstarred all their lives, they don't know anything else. So it's really, unless they're very self-aware, so it's really important that you factor that in, because otherwise your diverse learners will be left out. But Stuart, you were fantastic at being rockstarred. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Stuart. You can play that rockstar game with people. Just play it and let them feel those two experiences. It's really, really wonderful to see, and play it with diverse people. If you had all afternoon, you just get diverse people in and you rockstar them until they're just like going, yeah. And we see that confidence build the way we saw it in Yeti. From I'm not going to be any good at this, as I thought I was allowed to be bad at this, to oh, screw this, I'm just going to take off the restrictions and I'm going to do it with confidence. And then we see the ability level go up. And it's exactly what we saw happen with Lynn in another way. Oh, I mean, it's just a bit like this. And eventually we're throwing in a Romanian proverb at her and she knows exactly what it means. So state is everything. Anything you can do to lower anxiety, raise expectations, allow people to jump from 1 to 10 by putting them into a confident state. And if they're not in a confident state, and they're unlikely to be because of the way the room looks and feels to them, rockstar them in. These are the 4 things I want you to take away from our session today. You've been absolutely wonderful. I've been Deborah Frances-White. Thank you so much.